I just want to thank you, right, for coming. This is the first of hopefully many of these that we're going to do. And I can't believe how many people we packed into here tonight. And we're going to start crying. I'm very proud.
You cry, I cry.
I'll try not to cry. So our theme tonight was coming of age. And in my elementary school, I was the very first boy who realized that he loved girls. Which means that, you know, because I was so much more mature, I also was the first boy who realized that love doesn't exist. And I realized this because I was dumped in front of my parents at a Chili's restaurant. So this is 8th grade, and I was dating this girl named Julie, and Julie thought I hated her, and I thought she hated me, and I think we actually did hate each other for a little bit there. But we had every class together, so by luck and proxy, we were dating. But it was real. We were in love. We were in love, and I knew that we were in love because if you looked at my profile on my AOL Instant Messenger, it said, "I love Julie," in big bold letters. And that's how I knew that we were in love. So it was a Friday at school, and we were both on the improv team. And we had an improv meet that night, and the next day, I was going to Chicago for the weekend to visit my family and a cousin of mine who had recently gotten married. So Julie thought this was the perfect time to break up with me because I'll have 3 days to like cool off. And I should have known it was coming because I came to say hello to her that morning in front of the lockers. You know, I left my pod to go to her pod. And her best friend walked up to me, hugged me, and went, "I'm sorry." And walked away. That should have been the first sign that something bad was going to happen. Of course, I had no idea. So we go to the improv meet, and afterwards, Julie's like, "I need to talk to you." And then my dad is like, "Why don't we all go to Chili's?" And she's like, "I'll talk to you later." So it's me, Julie, her family, my family, the rest of the improv team, my middle school theater teachers. We have like 30 people at a table, not unlike like this setup right here.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I almost hit everyone in the audience with my cane. So we're at this table, and we're at Chili's. And I don't know how many of you go to Chili's anymore.
All the time.
Woo! They did not sponsor this event. So we're there at Chili's, and Julie is refusing to talk to me. She gave me the silent treatment. I'm like, "Julie, what's wrong? I know something's wrong. Hold on, I'm going to order my baby back ribs. What is wrong?" And by the time that the Awesome Blossom got there, does anybody know what an Awesome Blossom is? The Awesome Blossom is no longer there. I think it's because of me. It's because of me they no longer have the Awesome Blossom. Because they brought it at the table, and as like everyone collectively was reaching over to like take part of it, I'm like, "Julie, what is wrong?" And she just goes, "I don't like you anymore." Everyone finishes taking their Awesome Blossom. Then they get silent. So Julie takes me outside, breaks up with me, and it's all dramatic. It felt like an episode of Degrassi.
Yes! Preach!
And the next morning, I got on the plane to go to Chicago, and I had my CD player because iPods weren't invented yet. And I was listening to the Smiths, and I was all sad, and I was like, I was sitting in my window seat. The rest of my family wasn't sitting with me for some reason, but I was sitting in the window seat looking out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to go see this cousin who got married, and everyone's gonna be so happy, but I know that love doesn't exist. It's all bullshit, and I'm the only one who knows it." And I'm getting really emotional, and I'm tearing, and I hear from the passenger next to me, "You look really sad. Do you need to talk?" And I turn, and the two passengers sitting in my row are blonde, buxom, and in my age range. Things suddenly are looking very good. And for some reason, they thought I was really charming. I'm not. They thought I was really, really charming. They were laughing at all these terrible, awful jokes I was saying. And eventually, you know, we're having this rapport, and they go, "Well, you know, where are you staying?" "We're staying at like the Hilton." I'm like, "Oh, I'm at the Hilton too." And they're like, "Really?" "Well, you should come hang out with us because 1, we're in the same hotel as you. 2, we don't have any chaperones in this trip. We're going alone. And 3, we bought a lot of alcohol. So I am losing it in my seat. I'm trying to sit calmly, but I know, oh my God, forget Julie, I am about to have the sex. I am about to have all of the sex. The sex is about to happen. And the drinking and sex in Chicago. And that is about to happen. And I should have quit while I was ahead. But I didn't. I kept going. I was like, I'm just gonna keep pulling out the stories that I have saved that I tell girls when I want them to like me. And I tell this joke that I think is really funny, but no one ever laughs at. And they're complaining about the airplane peanuts and how it's not big enough and there's like only like 5 peanuts in it. And I'm like, well, things could be worse. She could have cancer. Well, don't get ahead of me.
You got it.
So, for those of you who've never been to Chicago, they have really good hot dogs, they have really good pizza, and they have really good pediatrics. And I never stopped to ask why they didn't have their parents with them. Turns out, girl next to me starting chemo in 2 days. The other girl was her best friend. Her parents wanted her to like go up there a day early and do this as like a gift. Like, I'm sorry, you're about to have chemo gift. So I dropped this joke, and the entire plane goes silent for some reason. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just like yesterday. There's these hot girls being silent, but this time I don't have an awesome blossom. So we get off the plane, and they say, you know, don't talk to us again. And I go to the hotel, and I'm with my family. I'm sitting in our hotel room, and I'm like, well, they said don't talk to us, but they didn't say don't come over. And I know what their room number is. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to stop over there. I'm going to try to you know, mend what I've done. So I'm like, hey, families, everybody need any ice? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get ice. So I go down the elevator. I'm like, okay, there still might be a possibility of the sex. The sex still might be able to happen. And I find their room. I find their door. And I stand in front of it. And for like a minute, I'm having this internal struggle, like, do I knock on this? Oh my God, they're gonna think I'm like this rapist serial killer who just like followed them from Virginia, and I think that I'm having this conversation in my head. I'm not. I'm saying these things out loud, and quite audibly enough that you could hear it through a hotel door. So they let me go on and do this for a while before they open up the door, and there are just these 2 girls, and one of them is just like tears in her eyes, afraid, and the other one's just standing there looking like she's gonna beat the shit out of me. And she just goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I thought about how ridiculous this whole moment was for a second, and I just went, I don't really know. And she went, "Do we need to call the cops?" And I went, "No. Don't worry. I don't love you." And I walked back to my room. Well, wait. I walked back to my room, and I stayed there at the weekend and watched my happy newlywed cousin, and went back to Virginia and like talked with Julie. I'd never been to a Chili's restaurant since then, but I have loved plenty of people. Thank you very much.